Is specifically my one new subscriber who just subscribed today, assuming I managed to put this video up in time. So I just figured I'd give you the setup for my comic book. So basically, Earth is dystopic and evil, and the main character, like most people on Earth now, because Earth is dystopic and evil and futury, um, has a clone slave thing that looks like a tiger, not because he actually enjoys tigers, but rather because his mother did when he was a child, and and they've been together since they were both about 6 years old. Um. Anyway, so him and his slave thing that essentially looks like a humanoid tiger. Um. they're both adults now, and um anyway, in this comic book thing that's all dystopic and future, and so his line of work, the way he makes the big bucks, the cash, is that he makes androids, which is very profitable and also a tad bit expensive because you need like all kinds of you can't like mass produce an AI, at least not in this future. That's either just because, look at it now, we don't yet have a good way to mass produce AI. It's very difficult to manufacture it, in fact. And so I imagine either this would carry on into the future, or maybe this is just in some parallel universe where we never figure that out. Um, so like I was saying, you know, since he makes AI and androids and stuff, he is quite wealthy because you have to do all that programming by hand. Um, Granted, by hand is rather, poorly defined term now in the future because everything is crazy and futury. Um, just for the sake of saving time and not going into too much. Anyway, so you know, uh, our main character Rod, he finishes building an android, and he goes to Mars for some sort of a business thing that isn't revealed until later. It turns out that because, legally, you're not really allowed to have slaves on Mars. He was actually going to set, you know, Mrs. Tiger Stripes free, and um, you know, but she actually rather likes him, so she didn't really want that to happen. Um, because that means she'd have to stay on Mars because, you know, they're not legally allowed to be free on Earth because Earth is evil and dystopic and futury. Um, and so, but none of this actually happens because not but a couple of hours after they go to Mars, and long before he can do very much, um, they get abducted by aliens who showed up at Mars to, abduct people to put them into their, gladiatorial thing, because that's what the aliens do, is they collect various intelligent species from across the galaxy and, pit them against each other to see who will win. And that's essentially where I am now, and what I want to do is I want to have it go to a bit where, he gets bought by some guy because the gladiator thing isn't actually permanent. That's just how they determine your value. So it's like, oh, this one was able to beat this many opponents of these varying degrees of strength before he got defeated by this opponent with this varying degree of strength. So his price is this. And so someone, actually buys Rod. That's the name of the main character, by the way, assuming you haven't mentioned that before. So somebody actually buys Rod, and he, the person who buys Rod, which I haven't determined whether it should be a guy or a girl yet, just because I don't know. Post that in the comments, and any other suggestions that any of you have in the comments, is like super nice, which functions as a temptation for maybe Rod doesn't want to go back to Earth now because the person who owns him is super nice. But he eventually does decide to go back to Earth, and the person, because they're so nice, is just like, okay, I'll send you back to Earth. Here's a little spaceship. And so he, but he's so far away, he has to, essentially go hitchhiking across the galaxy, to, get back to Earth. And so when he eventually does, he discovers, Earth has been destroyed, and there's a giant space highway in its place. And so he's like, oh, dang it. And so he's really sad and depressed and wants to give up. But then, um, his friend is just like, hey, they couldn't have killed everybody. The humans have to be somewhere. And so the rest of the series is just them looking for, the lost humans in the universe. and so that's my idea for the comic book so far. And if any of you, my loyal subscribblers, have any suggestions, just put them in the doobly-doo and let me know, right? Because that's why I tell you guys these things, is because I want your honest opinions.